Hey everyone, Ewan here, and today I'm trying something a little different. As most of you know, we're huge fans of Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, and whatever other comics publisher you can think of. We love comics here, but while our focus tends to be on the big two, there is another thing I in particular am a huge fan of: Star Wars. The galaxy far, far away actually helped me start reading with its mesmerizing opening crawls when I was about this tall, and I've been obsessed with the series ever since. Hence why I think it would be nice to sprinkle a little bit of Star Wars dust in with your usual mix of superhero goodness. But one of the things I love most about Star Wars is the expanded universe, and while I do have a lot of love for some of the old Dark Horse stories, I found the new canon much more compelling. Marvel has occasionally stumbled with a select few comics, but most have managed to leave a positive, lasting impact on the galaxy far, far away. Whether it's opening up new horizons or reinterpreting beloved old features of the saga, Marvel Star Wars books have all gone some way in complementing the franchise's on-screen potential, and in reshaping the very fabric of its universe. So, get ready to scream "Punch it, Chewie," because this is What Culture, and here are 10 insane Star Wars comics that changed everything. Number 10. ObiWan and Anakin. One of the biggest mistakes the prequels ever committed was in neglecting most of the years Anakin Skywalker spent with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Sure, the Clone Wars TV show made up a lot of ground in terms of making their friendship feel more genuine. By the way, Clone Wars saved, how good is that? But the films themselves missed a trick by only depicting a fragment of the time the former allies spent together in the run-up to Anakin's turn to the dark side. And thus, the task of fleshing out the duo's friendship has fallen to other creators. Relatively few books have endeavored to chart Obi-Wan and Anakin's formative years, but one such series arrived in 2016, courtesy of now regular Star Wars mainstay Charles Soule, who was joined by artist Marco Checchetto of Daredevil fame. Set but 3 years after the events of The Phantom Menace, Obi-Wan and Anakin picks up with the two Jedi stranded on a remote planet ravaged by war. Here, Soule lays the seeds of Anakin's rebellious nature, his opposition to aspects of the Jedi Code, and even the beginnings of Palpatine's, well, deception. It just makes the prequels feel just that little bit more complete, and there's also the fact it's a great standalone story too. Number 9. Lando. Lando Calrissian has always been one of the more beloved characters from Star Wars, and with Solo: A Star Wars Story not releasing until 2018, at the time of the Lando comics release, much of the character's past remained a mystery. He was a prime candidate for new stories. Recognizing the potential for some exciting Lando stories, Marvel united Charles Soule with Daredevil artist Alex Maleev to reveal what the character had gotten up to before he became Baron Administrator, what a title, of Cloud City in The Empire Strikes Back. Fans had always assumed that it would have been a lot, but few would have predicted that his first comic would tell the story of how he once accidentally hijacked the Emperor's personal yacht, littered with Sith treasures, in a caper gone wrong. With the Empire on his tail and bounty hunters waiting in the wings, Lando has to risk it all to make it off Palpatine's ship intact. Sadly, Lando's survival depends upon a courageous act from Lobot, a silent side character from Episode 5, who it is revealed actually spoke and had a personality before this heist. Lobot ends up sacrificing his mind to save Lando, turning what was a fairly minor character into something of an unsung hero. Kind of a trend with Star Wars. Number 8. Shattered Empire. Shattered Empire kickstarted the beginning of Marvel's new Star Wars comics, and with it the beginning of the path to The Force Awakens. It focuses on how the Empire regrouped after their capitulation on Endor, Luke's efforts to understand his place as a Jedi in the galaxy now that the Republic has re-emerged, and, a particular highlight, the introduction of Poe Dameron's parents, Kez and Shara Bey. Greg Rucka and Marco Checchetto took a focused approach, and didn't really supply the answers fans may have been hoping for with its release, but that wasn't the point. It was meant to set the stage for Star Wars post-Return of the Jedi, and it did a fine job of it too, complicating Episode 6's rosy ending, and in doing so laying the groundwork for the eventual rise of the First Order. Number 7. Darth Vader Volume 1. Although some have come close, no Marvel comic has managed to outdo Kieran Gillen and Salvador Larroca's Darth Vader. Set in between episodes 4 and 5, a substantial gap of about 3 years, Gillen's Vader gives readers their best look yet at the Dark Lord of the Sith, detailing his internal conflict, the twisted relationship he has with his master, Darth Sidious, and even how he came to realize that Luke Skywalker was his own son. The moment is rendered with incredible emotion by Gillen and Larroca, as Boba Fett informs Lord Vader that the pilots who had destroyed the Death Star went by the name of Skywalker. Vader doesn't telegraph his anguish immediately. It would be impossible to, given his robotic exterior, but the use of flashback to the moment Padme informed Anakin she was pregnant is masterful. Vader almost breaks the reinforced window to his Star Destroyer in response, as he dwells on what could have been and how the Emperor has used him in the years since. Gillen and LaRocca's Vader comic was genius, and was particularly brilliant in how it worked the prequels into its story. Vader encounters battle droids and other relics of the Republic during his time in the comic, and it all serves a purpose in making the saga feel all that more complete. Number 6. Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith. Kieran Gillen and Salvador Larroca's Vader run was practically perfect in every way, but both creators had to step off the title eventually. Gillen went on to seek different challenges, but in his absence came a now familiar name on this list, Charles Soule. Soule's Star Wars books are among the best in the biz, and it was no surprise that the writer was able to provide a fresh spin on Vader when Marvel relaunched the series in 2017. Joined this time by Giuseppe Camuncoli, Soule elected to look at Vader's formative moments as a Sith Lord, operating in the immediate years following the fall of the Republic, and where the pull towards the light was felt strongest. There's a really great internal conflict at play, a given when it comes to the title character, but there's more that separates the book from its contemporaries. In chronicling the Empire's early years, Soule is able to chart the transition between the prequel trilogy and the original saga in a fascinating new light, meaning you ultimately get more out of all 6 films. Of course, the biggest bombshell dropped in the run played to the theory that Emperor Palpatine was responsible for the quote-unquote immaculate conception of Anakin Skywalker. It's only a dark vision, and Soule himself has repeatedly stated that it's not meant to be taken literally, but that hasn't stopped fans from considering the evidence that the Emperor was behind Anakin's fall from the very beginning. At the very least, it's certainly more believable than the idea that he got down and dirty with a senator post-lightning wrinklage. And now that image is in my head. Great. Number 5. Star Wars. Just Star Wars. Like most other Star Wars series from 2015, Jason Aaron's comic was set in the gap between episodes 4 and 5. That particular time frame allowed Marvel's creators to really branch out and show just how the Rebel Alliance found themselves on the back foot after the destruction of the first Death Star, and eventually at Hoth. In doing so, they showcased some pretty big revelations, including how Luke and Vader had a brief duel years before their clash in Cloud City, and even what Obi-Wan Kenobi got up to while exiled on Tatooine. It's possible to argue that the main Star Wars run over-explained the interlude between A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back, but the majority of the material does add to the films, particularly in how it further develops the relationship between Luke, Han, and Leia. Number 4. Star Wars TIE Fighter. Star Wars has always taken inspiration from films depicting aerial combat, specifically those set during World War II. The games in particular sort of hyper-focused on that element, with titles like Rogue Squadron, Jedi Starfighter, and TIE Fighter all playing to the tropes we associate with military fiction, and especially those focused on aerial combat. More recently, Star Wars has returned to that genre. Alexander Freed's Alphabet Squadron novel released in 2019 to rave reviews, while a sequel is slated to release later this year. Comics-wise, to tie into the book, Jody Houser and Roque Antonio helmed Star Wars TIE Fighter, and it was excellent. In the vein of Star Wars Battlefront 2, shadowing attempts to humanize elements of the Empire and the internal conflict triggered by the Rebellion's victory on Endor. It makes for a spectacular read, and serves a vital purpose in showcasing the stories of the actual humans who were once indoctrinated into the Imperial Navy. Number 3. The Age of Anthology. For those less accustomed to big sprawling arcs that can go on forever and ever and ever, Marvel's Age of comics are just the trick. The anthology series focused on the then 3 eras of the franchise and spotlighted a specific character in each issue, whether they serve the light side or the dark. Due to the self-contained nature of these stories, only a select few really managed to influence the canon to a sizable degree. One such story is the Qui-Gon Jinn one-shot, which focuses on the character prior to the events of The Phantom Menace and touches upon his long-documented rebellious streak. Yes, this was apparent in Episode 1, but it's really fallen upon the novels and comics of the new Star Wars era to flesh out one of the more intriguing Jedi's seemingly engrossing past. Conversely, on the dark side of things, writer Jody Houser turns in another really compelling look at General Grievous, which takes inspiration from the frankly terrifying depiction seen in Genndy Tartakovsky's Clone Wars series from 2003. Oh, what a show that was. Number 2. Dr. Aphra. Of all the new characters introduced to Star Wars through the comics, Aphra might just be the best. A brilliant inversion of the Indiana Jones archetype, Aphra's mantra isn't so much that it belongs in a museum, but rather that it belongs to me and I'm gonna sell it, so bite me. She was first introduced in Gillen's Vader comic and proved so popular that she found her own series in 2016, joined alongside fellow fan favorites 000 and BT-1. Whether under Kieran Gillen or Simon Spurrier, the series has continued to flesh out the Star Wars mythos, exploring the past and the original trilogy to great effect, all the while developing a truly great anti-hero that could potentially be heading to Disney Plus in the future. Please, oh please, I need that Aphra show. Number 1. The Rise of Kylo Ren. Although the sequel trilogy hasn't been without its faults, there's no denying that Ben Solo has become one of Star Wars' greatest villains, if not one of the greatest villains in sci-fi history. Adam Driver's performance has been brilliant in every film, but with fairly little known of Ben's time spent training with Luke Skywalker before his fall, it's been left to the audience to fill in the blanks. At least until recently. Charles Soule makes yet another return to Star Wars with the Rise of Kylo Ren, a 4-issue miniseries that depicts the beginnings of Solo's turn to the dark side, his involvement with the Knights of Ren, and what exactly happened on that fateful night Luke Skywalker contemplated killing his nephew. The series is only 2 issues deep at the time of recording, but it's already forcing fans to reconsider what actually happened the night Luke's temple burned, with it being revealed that Solo may not be the one responsible for its destruction. Soule and Slaney's comic also serves a valuable purpose in fleshing out the backstory behind the Knights of Ren. That faction was pretty much just window dressing throughout the entire sequels, but the first issue has already established their link to the First Order, Snoke, and where Ben seemingly first adopted his Sith moniker. And yeah, that was our list on the canon Star Wars comics that may have changed the way you saw the films. Please let me know your favorite bits and bobs about the new canon down in the comments below, or even if you're more of a Legends person, I won't judge. Lastly, please indulge my mind trick fantasies and like the video, hit that notification bell, and subscribe for more content every day. You can catch more articles like this at whatculture.com/comics, more of me on Twitter at @EwanRuinsThings, and more books like this within the walls of your local comic book store. That's all for now though, have a great day wherever you are, and may the Force be with you. Bye!